Hello, hello. How is everybody doing tonight? It is Wednesday night. Can you believe it? We're midway through the week. So Chris pings me literally like 5 minutes ago and is like, oh, I'm running about 5 minutes late. So that's how comfortable we are nowadays. It's just like show up when you want, type thing. We don't really have a game plan per usual. I'd like to, I want to reach a point where I just have more time to just plan these things out. So we've got all these different topics that we're going to talk about, but it's really just going to be kind of flying by the seat of our pants. You guys throw some stuff into the chat that you want to talk about. We're perfectly good with that. We are going to talk about obviously cards, but then also going to talk about, just collectibles, some different things that we're looking into that I think are kind of interesting and want to get your feedback as well. Randy Kendrick, how's it going? Michael Ham, how are you? Ed Lang, good to see you. How's everybody doing tonight? How's everyone's week going? Good or not so good? Or how are we feeling? I've had a beast of a week so far, and it's only Wednesday. Just weird stuff at work going on, but that's why I like doing these lives, kind of get away and making the video. Honestly, like doing YouTube stuff is not work at all for me. If anything, it's just, it's a break from reality, which is awesome. So I appreciate you guys hanging out. Hey, Daniel Dugmore, how's it going? Mark Green made some great returns. What types of stuff, Mark? I mean, you don't have to say specifically, but 80s, 90s, you talking about football, basketball, baseball? Ed Lang's buying up Jordan cards. I'd love to buy up more Jordan cards. It's just a matter of finding ones in the price range. That's where I went pretty heavy into the the 88, 89 stickers, over the last couple of months was for that reason, because once you start getting up there in grade, those suckers are not cheap. Now, of course, you can go into like the 90s Jordan stuff, and there's definitely some in the price point. Do I think that NASCAR could ever take off like tennis? I mean, honestly, like I'm a little bit surprised that Marvel cards have taken off the way that they have. And I'm just curious to see if that's going to continue, or if, is that just kind of a couple month thing, or is that going to be something that's here to stay? I like those 1990 Marvel sets, but I mean, my thing is if Marvel can do it, then why not NASCAR? Why not any of these things? I don't know. Not telling you what to buy, obviously, go buy whatever you want, but I don't think there's any real, rhyme or reason. For those that are just joining here, Chris, I was just saying, it's so laid back nowadays. Chris is like, yeah, I'm running late. So he'll pop in whenever he gets here, but he'll be here. I have faith. Charles, how's it going? Good to see you. Charles has some really nice Marvel cards. If you have gotten into the Marvel stuff, on his Instagram, he has PMGs and he's got some rare stuff on there that's pretty cool. Yeah, Marvel PMGs. Yeah, I'm with you here, Michael. I think that's and that's the thing. It's like, are we reaching, or is this just kind of like the new normal? I'm going to actually, the video I'm dropping tomorrow morning kind of delves into a little bit of some of the why. And so you guys will have to let me know what you think. I'm not no spoilers or anything, but there's a video tomorrow morning, kind of the why everyone's chasing collectible type deal outside of nostalgia, of course. That's kind of the easy one. All right, I think our boy Chris is in the house. I'm going to add him to the stream here. What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on?
How you doing?
What's going on? Yeah, I'm all right. All right. How about yourself?
I was just saying, it's been a pretty busy, like work week has been kind of crazy this week.
Yeah?
So I was looking forward to tonight just to get a little bit of a breather. What
happened?
It's just I'm an IT recruiter. And so I'm working for a big company and everyone wants to hire, 1 million people right now. And they're really niche skill sets. So it's been wild. It's kind of like managers that want, this type of skill set, and there's only 5 people in town that have it type thing.
Ooh. So not enough supply, too much demand.
You nailed it. A lot of demand. It's like the card market right now.
Seriously. All right. What did I miss?
Oh, no, I was just talking trash about you for the first 5 minutes, and then you jumped in, I quieted up.
That's what I expected. That's what I give you time to get it out, basically.
Do you have a new setup back there? Are those light boxes?
Yeah, it's a little of this and that. It's a work in progress. It's just, just trying to look cool, man, like everybody else. That's all. Look at your setup. I
still have a Christmas wreath.
I was going to say, I didn't have much to beat here. We got you covered. Yeah. You've got plant from 20 years ago wall. That I got covered.
Yeah, Chris looks like Vegas. Chris looks like Vegas with all the lights and everything, and I'm just like Main Street America over here with a Christmas tree still up. What's up, Flipper Steve? How you doing? Jeff McCombs, Sean. I can't pronounce your last name. I'll throw this up here. Economy prime to pop if we can. Blah, blah, okay. Yes. Okay. For those who can afford hobby and retail is priced 4x. How do you find deals? I'll be honest with you, Craig. I don't buy a lot of new product. Actually, scratch that. I don't buy any new product just because of where the prices are. Actually, Chris, I believe you've done some of that. You've delved into some of that. Didn't you have NBA hoops premium?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the hobby retail stuff?
Yeah, so basically the way that it works is that if you have an in at some place like Target or Walmart and there's a lot of demand in your area, whoever has the in, whether it's the vendor's relative, it's going to be very difficult for you to get a hold of this product because as soon as it's there, it's gone. There's people lined up. You're not going to get it. The reason why is because the street value of it is like 3 times what the actual retail cost is. So you have a situation where the only way to stop that from happening is to not participate. The more you buy and then crack, the more you're going to keep having to pay that much. So if everybody collectively said, we're not buying anymore, the retail flippers would be stuck with their products. So the reason why the price is inflated as such is because the demand is too high. So if the demand goes down because people aren't going to pay these prices anymore, well, you're going to see that slowly trickle back to some sort of normality, which is not necessarily going to happen. But I can tell you this, if you're not somebody who has a bunch of disposable income and you just want to buy all the stuff and open it up anyway, and it's fun and whatever else, then you're going to want to buy the singles that you want, the singles that you think are good for whatever your purpose is, whether you're collecting or, flipping, whatever it is, whatever your purpose is. You're going to have to hunt these singles down yourself, find them and buy them on the secondhand market. After, guy goes retail, gets it for 20, sells it to other guy for 75. Guy for 75 can't take it, so he rips it open, gets $20 worth of cards back. He goes and sells those. You be the guy that buys it because then you're basically getting it at retail. So that's the strategy. If you want the most frugal of gourmets, wait until they crack that shit and then buy the singles.
Do you think there's a lot of average Joes that are buying the $1,000 hobby box, or do you think it's just an element of the big money that's come in and they're just like, we no big deal. Like my kid wants it or my teenager wants it or whatever, or I don't know.
I think there's a massive disparity, just like you see a massive income disparity in Vegas. You have homeless people that are crawling around looking for a piece of cloth to keep themselves warm right next to people walking around with Ferraris as sunglasses, right? Trying to, get their gamble on. So it's just the same sort of thing. You have people who are struggling to get hoops singles, and then you have people who are just dropping $15,000, $20,000 because they can on packs. I mean, it's a massive disparity. And, really whatever you're doing is going to put you in whatever area you're in. But I do believe that there's enough people with enough money that the companies are going to keep charging until you stop buying. So if for instance, if Topps came out with another product, I mean, look at Transcendent, right? The baseball product, it's $25K full of like little plastic dude with a little gold frame and some autographs. $25K for a bunch of like 101s and 105s. I don't know. I'm not feeling that super high-end product. I feel like it's more exploitative. For me, the value comes from when you get it graded and it's awesome, or when you find a guy who is suddenly awesome 5 years later, when Giannis turns into LeBron. I mean, there's a lot of ways to play this game, but the worst way is to just submit to whatever the card buyer or the card maker rather is feeding you. So if they're going to feed you $20,000 boxes and you're going to buy them, they're not going to stop feeding you. They're just going to keep taking your 20,000.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you, man. I hear you. This is a good thought. So I'm rethinking my strategy to hold 9s and sell the 10s due to the potential influence of investment bank funds getting ready to buy up all the prime cards. Yeah. And I guess that depends too, Sean. Are you talking about like LeBron James Topps Chrome rookie card PSA 10s? Because that's like, that stuff is kind of up at the top, along with all the other rare stuff. That's just an example. Or are you just talking about 9s and 10s in general, other stuff? So I'm a big fan of 9s.
I mean, it's interesting, right? Because if the 9s go up in value because the 10s are now getting super valuable, then I would rather have the 10s and be the one selling to the investment banks. Like part of my strategy right now, as far as what I'm accumulating, is I am trying to follow what the fractional investment companies might do. The reason why Heritage and Golden are seeing these record prices is because fractionals are all fighting each other to have the best stuff to split up between people, and the equity falls where it may. So if you can predict or research what the fractionals might turn towards, you might be able to get there early. Even if it's a market that has already expensive pieces, you might be able to find something that other people aren't paying attention to. So again, a lot of ways to play the game. But if the 10s are going to go up because the investment banks are getting it in, then why wouldn't you want the 10s to sell to the banks when they come and knocking on your door? Then you have something they want. But the 9s is a big split because the 9 appeals to way less people that have way more money. So it really depends on how you want to position yourself and what's relevant to you. But don't just get rid of the 10s because the bankers want them. Hold them until they come knocking.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. I mean, people, whether you like fractional or don't like fractional, the fact is that the market has spoken on fractional, and every time fractional companies have an offering, it sells out in like a second.
Yeah,
I mean,
fractional.
I can't speak for Rally Road had like a Triceratops skull that they were. I don't know if that's sold out. Maybe it did. I don't know, because Rally Road has so many different offerings. I don't know if all their stuff sells out, but I know like just Collectible and some of the new ones that have been doing cards, their stuff has been like, lightning fast, and it's gone. So, I mean, the market speaks with their money, not like our opinions don't matter. It's whatever the market says it is.
Right. So I think the reason that the fractionals are attractive to people, it's because of exactly the function of the fractional. It's a scarce item that's super high graded, not just a Steph Curry PSA 8 2009 Topps rookie, but it's a chrome and it's a PSA 10. It's numbered out of whatever, 999. It's the most scarce, the highest end of collectibles, and then you get to get a piece of it. And when it goes up, you get to see that go up. So if you know that Steph Curry is going up over the next 5 years, but you can't afford one, you could afford whatever fraction of one you can afford is. And I think they're not going anywhere. They're going to be part of the way that people collect in the future and the way that people store money. So that is something that you just need to accept. If you hate it and you're, just get over your shit, old man. It's time to move on. The fractionals are here to stay, and they're going to evolve as well. At one point, I could see them having guitars. What about Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger, microphone, autographed stand? Like there's who knows where it could end up. All you need is two people to agree. Yeah.
Yeah. The one thing that's really interesting that Collectible does is they're kind of like a consignor in the sense that, it's someone like, I think it was Emmitt Smith was one of their guys that has some memorabilia. He wants to sell it, but he also wants to keep a portion of it. So they put up, he keeps 25%, and then they put the other 75% up for people to own. There's pros and cons to that model. But the point is, think of all the athletes, the entertainers that have that stuff. They have the signed baseballs. They have the signed jerseys or whatever. They have all that stuff. And then it can actually go out onto the market through that vehicle.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of cool, really, because otherwise you might never, ever see that stuff. It might just get passed down through their family. It might get, sold off to whatever auction house, and you wouldn't be able to get it. So, it is pretty cool.
Think about it like this. Go all the way back in the day before the grading companies had a massive effect on the market. Go back to when the shit was just pure at the card show with the yellowing top loader and the card that you were looking at. Centering didn't necessarily matter as much, a dinged corner, whatever. Everybody was fine paying top dollar then because that's what existed. And when the grading card companies came in, I'm sure tons of people were like, why? Why do I care? Why do I care? Until suddenly everyone else cared. Now they care because everyone else cares. So you can you could say, oh, I don't like this, I'm not into it. Or you could embrace the change, whether it's Top Shot, whether it's, fractionals, whatever is changing in the hobby, different grading systems, with their hybrid, whatever. You could embrace it, figure out which of those is worth your time. Or you could just sit back like the dinosaur head they're fractioning off and do nothing, and that's up to you. It's your experience.
I can't get enough of the Triceratops skull shares. I can't get enough of them. I'm kidding. I haven't bought any fractional share stuff yet, but I'm following it. I'm paying attention to it.
I have one fractional share. That is 10 shares of a 1986 Fleer PSA 10 set.
That's right. God, that's a wicked one to get, though. That's awesome, man.
I bought them because I saw when I did some work for Otis on my YouTube channel, right? And when I was researching, hey, what the hell is this? Whatever. I was like, oh, they actually have like a few thousand shares left of this PSA 10 Fleer. And I was like, no way that this is not going to go up. So I shot $100 at it, got my 10 shares for $10 a piece. And now it's like $500. And it's just been like a month or two or something, it's just... The more millions, it's cool. And I think, I'm not necessarily into every offering that they have because I don't necessarily think that every offering is going to accrue value. But that's the whole thing about it. You get to pick and choose what you want to be a part of. So you have a lot of control over it still.
We'll delve into this for a minute. Do you guys agree with Vegas Dave stating that the sports car market will crash by the end of 2024? So I have a video coming out tomorrow. I don't want to really spoil it, but if you guys promise to watch it anyway, then I'll talk about my feelings on this. Because actually, Mark Cuban actually made a comment, and I agreed with him. So the one thing that he had pointed out, which I had also been thinking the same thing, is that interest rates are at all-time lows. So people, there's no benefit for us to put our money into a savings account. It's literally at like
zero.
It's a zero. It's like 0.5%. And then you want to put money into a CD. It's like 0.7. And then your money's tied up for 2 years. Those were traditional saving vehicles. I remember in the early 2000s, I had a PayPal account with an eBay account. And my savings account that was attached to my PayPal account was at like 4.7% in like 2004, 2005. That's massive compared to what it is now. So, but the main point though is that whether you're a wealthy person or a middle-class family or whatever, there's, all that money that was sitting in savings. Cash is not king when it's not making you anything. I mean, it's king if you want to, buy, you have to save to buy large things, but when you're not getting any interest on your money, people are going to go outside of it. They're going to go out, they're going to look at alternative stuff, or they're going to go into the stock market or real estate or whatever, but they're not going to let it sit in savings. Not a lot of it. They're going to try to move some of it out. And I think that is a piece of this puzzle. I'm not saying it's everything, but if interest rates stay low, which they're supposed to over the next couple of years, we're probably fine. But at some point down the line, interest rates will rise.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that having a collectible that you have some sort of a connection to is a lot cooler than just having a number sitting in somebody else's possession like the bank. Banks are getting less and less useful as time goes on, and that's why they're struggling to stay relevant, adopting crypto, doing all this shit to stay there. The paper check is a dying breed. And as far as this Vegas Dave character, let me ask you a question. You roll up in a nightclub, a pink flamingo dressed character walks up to you and starts telling you about the future. Are you going to listen to him? Probably not. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you guys saw the picture that went with whatever he said.
I thought you just pulled that out. I didn't know that.
There's a picture of him, right? And he's dressed in like this Gucci, Louis Vuitton, fake ass affectation nightclub gear. And it's all pink, and he just looks like a pink flamingo in a nightclub. And I'm like, why would I listen to this guy about what his opinion is on the market? Now, first of all, define crash. Crash from where? Market goes up 70,000%. It crashes down to 40,000%. It still went up 40,000%. So it really depends on how you define crash. It also depends on what happens with the pandemic and how life sort of goes through the next phase of the next 4 years. If everybody's vaccinated, everybody's back live, everybody's in the stadiums, people spend less money on sports cards in general because they're not looking at them in their home as much. They're out and about. Maybe crypto takes part of that. NFTs, whatever else, that's obviously a booming scenario. So there's a lot to look at. And just to make a blanket statement while you're like burning cards or whatever other happy horse shit you're doing, it's, it is what it is. You can say, look, market's going to go up, market's going to go down, but it's not really anything to listen to because there's no real substance there. So just whatever. Attention is attention.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's people, I guess we're all in the attention getting game to some degree if we're on YouTube. So I get it.
Yeah.
I sort of get it. Burning the burning of the cards was a little extreme, but again, it's for attention. Charles has a good point. A lot of cards are coming back from PSA, a lot of them. And that's
definitely
something that I've been thinking about that too when I'm buying stuff. I'm like, man, I'm in my mind, I'm trying to gauge how many of these do I think are at PSA and how many do I think are actually going to get a 9 or a 10 or an 8 or whatever it is if it's vintage. What are your thoughts on that, Chris?
I think that PSA might, and again, this is conspiracy theory type stuff, but if PSA pushed out all the orders that they had, they would essentially flood the market. So much like they might be bottlenecking high-end cards like a Ricky Henderson rookie card, 1980 tops, they also might be bottlenecking the flow of the cards that are coming out, even though they're backed up. Because if they were to suddenly start pushing everybody's orders through, their value would go down. And something that's really, really important right now to think about is they're trying to get maximum valuation and sell the shares of their company. So they didn't want to stop at 92. Now they want to go over 100. And Nat Turner still doesn't have it. That deal has not been completed yet. In fact, I don't know what the deadline was. I thought it was sometime either maybe a couple days ago or whatever was happening with that.
I read though that they did accept it, or that they expected it. Now, I didn't see a final gavel down and it's happening, but I did read an article that said that like the majority of shareholders have agreed at that $92. So maybe they were trying to just squeeze out as much as they could. And Nat Turner and then we're like, nah, then we're out. And then they're probably like, all right, we'll take the 92.
Exactly. Because if you don't have the cards coming out at a rapid pace and sort of devaluing the height of where they're at now, then you can get more for the stock because the perception is that it's this valuable. But in the reality, when they start pushing, if they were caught up with orders, it would be this valuable. The PSA market would crash. Pink Flamingo speak. So I'm not saying that PSA is bad. I like PSA. I'll continue to use them. They're the most valuable company, but we have to keep our expectations realistic. We can't just expect everything to just go up forever just because the government's handing out money and people are staying home and everything else. At some point, something is going to have to normalize, and PSA is going to have to normalize as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I did see something about BGS. I didn't have a chance to investigate it yet, but something about BGS just had a big price increase today.
Yeah, I saw that. That was a little bit crazy. They're like double on the top end cards, but I saw the video from Northeast or Northwest, the gentleman that does what I'm talking about. Yeah. No, I like his videos. Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to watch it, but I saw the headline. I saw the tagline.
He basically said, why would you ever send anything to BGS? They're slower. They're double the price. When's the last time you saw a BGS reveal video, which I thought was hilarious? I'm like, you know what? You're right. It's like,
I never thought about that. Yeah.
Never. No one's ever been like, BGS, I got mine back. Because they're slower than all hell. And I mean, it makes sense. So why use the product? I don't know. I know we all know Beckett from back in the day, and you've got the good doc coming on the show. That's exciting. Beckett magazine used to be just a main hold in the collecting industry. You'd always, and who knows? Obviously, he's got a lot going on, and I'm not saying that it's his issue to deal with, but overall, something needs to change if that is going to continue, because that's not sustainable. And, who even talks about SGC anymore? I don't even hear about it.
Yeah, that's wild how they just kind of fell off. I mean, obviously they're still working, but I mean, yeah, you're right. No one's really talking about them. Do you have any thoughts on that new hybrid company?
I think the cases look good. I've seen some of the stuff graded go for good money from what we've seen. I think the price is a bit too high there as well. And I think that good grading or good cases aren't a selling point. I think that the grading needs to be accurate. And I think that I had a few different issues with how they presented everything on the site, because their selling points are basically they need to clean up their marketing and they need to work as hard as they can on accurate grades. And I think they'll have a foothold if they can keep it up. And I'm still waiting to see what CSG is going to do, if anything, so there's some expectation there as well.
Yeah, they were supposed to launch this month. I know. I don't know. I think we've talked about it. I like the CGC comic cases and everything. And I respect that company. So
yeah,
I have
absolutely.
high expectations for CSG. Are you still working with them? Are you still sending comic books out to CGC on occasion?
I just got a few back the other day. I think that I'm definitely in when it comes to graded collectibles in general and finding nooks and crannies in the markets that people aren't paying attention to. And I think there are some out there. And I think comic books is definitely one of those things. Like you see the rise of, say, Star Wars cards, for instance, right? So if the Star Wars cards are suddenly amazing, then what about the comic book? Like you said, right? Just in your video the other day, which I completely agree with that point. What about the originals? I think people are going to be led to other places in the collectible market, because when we were all younger, there were only so many collectibles that you could get that people cared about. There were action figures, video games, comic books, and cards. That was like the main four, the big four, so to speak. So, at some point you have to look for what hasn't been explored yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we've been talking about some different things. We'll dig into that in a little bit. But what are you doing on the sports card side? Are you buying anything right now? Or are you just kind of chilling on sports cards, or selling a lot? Or what's kind of your
I am
right in a second?
I'm selectively picking off vintage, both for grading and graded. So that I'm definitely in on. And, other than that, I'm not really doing like a raw find a guy, flip a guy thing at the moment, simply because I've been so involved with the Top Shot stuff that has been more value, even in the bear market, that people seem to kind of forget about. I know that, we're not going to go too much into Top Shot tonight, but I mean, people are like, well, everything's worthless now. No. Items went from $4 to $700 down to $500. Like, let's have some perspective here, folks. It's still up a mint. If you zoom out to the 30-day, it's up like 2,700%. And when they do their next marketing push, it's going to go up again. If you look at the crypto punks, which are all over the place now, people are paying up to $700,000 for a crypto punk. Are you telling me in 2 years, when they've got their shit straight, whether their game comes out or not, and they've got the NBA advertising to the fans in the stadiums, that's not going to be a success? Again, if you want to take part, Jam, now is the time to get it, because it ain't going to get that much cheaper. You might be at the bottom right now. But yeah, I think I've been picking up a little bit of this and that. I'm kind of stayed away from Jordans. I think Jordan, I wouldn't say it's a joke, but I think that there's a lot of nonsense out there. Like somebody in a Facebook group that I'm in posted earlier today that they were selling a 1989 PSA 10 Jordan for like $4,000.
Oh,
and I had
Are you talking about the hoops or the?
No, just 89 Fleer.
Oh, 89 Fleer. Yep.
There's so many better ways to put $4,000 to work than at Jordan, because what is your expectation? You're going to sell it at 5,000. You're going to sell it at 8,000. Who's going to buy it? There's so many better ways to get value from the name Michael Jordan, and it's not buying 89 Fleer for 4,000.
Yeah, 89 is really where. I like obviously 86 Fleer, 87, 88, but once you get into 89, then it gets a little. I mean, maybe the 10s, but even though, it's like, man, 10s are expensive. I agree with you. My buddy, I have a friend that I grew up with, and I literally this was like, 30 years ago, like childhood friend, just like pinged me on Facebook the other day and was like, hey, didn't we have like 10 of these when we were collecting, when we were 8, and it was that 9 Fleer Jordan where he's like going up for the dunk. I mean, I love those cards, but
absolutely.
But man, yeah, I can't believe how far they've come.
And it's not that they aren't worth something. There's a place for them, but it's not a $4,000 place. That's just burning money, in my opinion. And not that the market is necessarily at 4K. Maybe that's just what that dude was delusional and was offering. But I mean, here's the thing. What drives collectors to pay big money down the road, not just in the hype, is scarcity. So if you take the name Michael Jordan and you look at all of the collectible items that he could be attached to in some way, find the scarcity. It's not just about sports cards. It's not just about a comic book. It's about anything related to him that can be collectible, that is scarce, that other people agree is scarce and collectible. And then you might find the nooks in the cranny. Yeah.
Speaking of, well, let's kind of like hedge off of that a little bit, talk a little more about some of those alternative collectibles, that we've talked about. I know that on my channel, I've talked about action figures. There's so many different brands. I really do think, when you look at like Ninja Turtles, for example, that is a multi-generational brand. That it started in 84 with the comic book, 84, 85, but my kids know about it. Their kids will probably know about it. Then it turns into like a 3-generation brand,
Absolutely.
So when you go back to that comic book, when you go back to that first line of action figures from 1988, I just have a hard time feeling like I bought a few of them. They're 1988 Ninja Turtle action figures in the box for about $100. They're not graded. I just found the ones that are in, the best condition I could find. But for $100 each, I'm like, I just don't feel like I'm going to lose $100 on these, and I'll just hold them. I'll just hold them until, maybe get them graded or whatever. But I know that they're scarce in good condition. I know they made a lot of them in 1988. I remember like every Kmart in town, they were packed with them. But how many of them are still in good condition? And there's not a lot of them. And there's none that are graded, like very low that are graded.
And that's the thing about collectibles in general, is that they deteriorate or they ruin themselves. A kid buys an action figure, he opens it up, he throws it across the room, value gone. Somebody buys a vinyl record, vintage, whatever, they scratch the shit out of it, boom, record gone. They deteriorate, they ruin themselves over time, which increases when the demand hits. Obviously, the supply goes down. And to the point down here, scarcity and demand, if demand goes way up, the current numbers will be considered scarce. Mosaic Mind, that is true, but you also have to remember the wax and wane of demand, because as soon as demand goes down, supply really starts to flood the market. Take a guy like Zion. While demand is high, while people are gambling that he's LeBron 2 in the next 5 years or whatever, the demand is really high. Even for the people who have shaved off some of their position, the demand is still there. So 20,000 might not be a lot if it's a PSA 10, Prism rookie, whatever. But you go 4 or 5 years down the road and he's not LeBron 2, he's Anthony Davis Jr., 20,000 starts to look crazy because way more people are willing to part with the card. So the demand, while it's at its peak, is going to cause that price to jump. But you have to think about what the demand will be like in future years for something that you want to hold long term and not just flip at a certain point.
I've heard the comparison too, Sean, with Zion is Larry Johnson 2.0. And let me tell you something, for those that might be too young to remember or just
Larry Johnson.
Larry Johnson was a chase rookie card in 92-93 Upper Deck. Larry Johnson rookie was a chase card. That was a big hype card when it was Shaq and Larry Johnson back in 92, 90. Those were the guys. And think about like Sean Kemp, really exciting player. Yep. And then just kind of, his career didn't exactly go as expected. I'm not saying that'll be Zion, but my point is just that there's a lot of very exciting players that just, haven't quite gotten over the hump. I think Zion's a great player, but it's like what we talk about with, prospecting. It's risky.
Yeah, just take a look at NBA Jam to find all those players. You got Sean Kemp, you got Gary Payton on a very few select machines. And then you've got Larry Johnson on the Hornets with Alonzo Mourning, which honestly, that's the team I did better than any other team with on NBA Jam.
Tell that story that you found about the Michael Jordan copy that might be out there or whatever.
No, it is. There's 5 of them that exist. There's something about that. So NBA Jam, The one thing we were talking about before, Dustin and I, is video games that might include Michael Jordan. And I was about to bid on a Jordan versus Bird sealed graded Nintendo game. And I bid $1,000 for it and bricked out by like $74. But if you're looking around for Jordan in video games, there's not that many of them. You have like Space Jam, Jordan versus Bird, because it was so difficult because he owned his own licensing. And that's why he keeps his demand high, because he doesn't give you the supply. So not everybody's going to have Jordan in a video game or wherever else. He keeps that shit for himself. So for NBA Jam, when it came out, there were a few versions with Michael Jordan that never got out. So I think the story goes like Jordan owns one of the cabinets, and then Gary Payton owns like 2 or 3. There's like one. Anyway, there's like said to be 5 Michael Jordan, and you can't find, because they have it. So there's no footage of it, but it's real. And Gary Payton is the one that supplied the people from NBA Jam with all the pictures and everything and made it all happen.
If they auction one of those things off, it would get like $1 billion.
That's what I'm saying. Can you imagine Michael Jordan's own NBA Jam with Michael Jordan in it, one of the only 5 in existence? Now that's scarcity.
Man, that would be so awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
I mean, he could just set that up it just some like a warehouse, like, and just have you have to pump quarters in it. And I mean, there'd be a line all day for people just to go. And I mean, it'd be like a tourist attraction.
Quarters, they would have that shit for free, and you'd have to come up and drop like $100 per game or something or more. It would just be crazy.
Point. Yeah.
Where would people stop? That's the where would they stop at? 300 a game, 500 a game? Madness. That's demand.
Right. So you are kind of picking and choosing for basketball cards. I'll be on, like, guys, I've got my kind of mail day video coming, but I'm just going to level with you. I've been going back to. I keep saying, so everyone kind of that watches my channel knows my 89 score Barry Sanders rookie card gaff that I made, where basically I was too cheap a couple years ago to buy a PSA 10 because I'm like, there's just, there's enough of them out there. I can get this card whenever. Right. It was $400, and I was like, I'm not paying more than $300, maybe $325. I'm not going to pay more than that. Well, I just saw that sucker went up to like $4,000 somehow. I don't know if that's a mistake. I want to see if that's like a consistent selling price, but I know I've seen multiple sales that are north of 3,000.
That's crazy.
So guys, what I've been doing, PSA 9 Barry Sanders rookie cards. That's where I've been focused. I am focused on it. I picked up a few. I'd love to have 10 of them, but I don't have the money. But they're about $350 a piece roughly right now. But what I was just seeing is that 10 skyrockets, the 9 is kind of lagging behind. But then also 1989 score football is that's like my nostalgic set from being a kid and not being able to afford it. Yep. So it's kind of fun. I mean, I picked up another Deion Sanders PSA 9 as well today from that set, and it was like $80, or whatever. But it's not mega scarce, but they're also not super pricey either.
Yeah, it's a great set. I think 89 score is just one of those classic football sets you're just not going to see. Even the Bo Jackson, you know how the score baseball has the bat or whatever the ox, he's doing the football pads. The 89 score has multiple Bo Jacksons. One of them is the purple. It might even just be an update card. And he's got the baseball bat, and he's still wearing the shoulder pads. So I mean, it's awesome. Yeah, 89 score is just awesome.
Yeah, I picked up a couple of those, that purple card. It's from the supplemental set. It's not super rare again, but in 9s and 10s, I just think that you can't really lose there because, I mean, like that purple card, I got 2 of them for $40 each. And it's, it's like, they're not, it's not super scarce, but it's Bo Jackson. I don't know. It's like Bo Jackson's kind of an anomaly because he's not a Hall of Famer, but, he just didn't have enough of a career, but he is one of the greatest athletes to ever play sports. Yep.
He's got the respect.
Yeah, it's just a weird kind of one-off. Yeah, and Steve, I've been loading up on Mandarich rookies. You would be shocked at how inexpensive Tony Mandarich rookies are.
And if you take a look, Bo Jackson is significant for so many reasons in that time. And he's one of the guys that doesn't have a black eye like Canseco. Well, actually, Canseco just got a bruised arm, but he's one of the guys that doesn't have any sort of issue with, PEDs or whatever from that age. So whether you're talking about Bonds, Canseco, whatever, all of those guys, Bo Jackson shines through. He's got a pristine reputation. He's still doing good work out there, and just everything from Tecmo Bowl, whatever it is, Bo Jackson shooting a bow and arrow with his foot. He's always going to be epic. And over time, his cards are going to be worth more and more and more. And the two scarcest in the pop counts are the 86 Topps Tiffany and the 1988 Topps Football Bo Jackson, which has doubled in value since I sent my 13 in June. So I would like to see those back at some point, PSA. I'd like to get a few 10s. Thank you. I love Bo Jackson, man.
I was about to buy a bunch of 88 Topps rookie cards for him. And then I went. So my only thing is, and you know this too. I mean, there are a lot of available packs of 1988 Topps football. You can go on eBay and they're not expensive.
Right.
89 score football is a lot more expensive than 88 Topps football is.
Oh yeah.
But the thing is, obviously, is you're not. I mean, it's extremely rare that you're going to pull a 9 or a 10 out of a pack that's 30 years old, that's been banging around in a storage unit or wherever it's been. So there's that too.
And it's difficult for 88 Topps football specifically because there are print line blurs on there. There's like little print line dots on a lot of them. And then they have blurry inking around where the top super rookie goes across. So that's a problem. And then for a lot of that wax, the way the gum was made for however, I don't know, ingredients, whatever you want to call it, but it's very, very traditional for the 88 Topps football to have like this weird wavy curve to it if you don't have one that's just clean and fresh out of a case. And even sometimes that's the case. However, they had the gum in the middle, right? So the cards are like warped around the gum. So it's a tough card in that sense. There's only like 500 or 600 of them in a PSA 10. So it's like, I think the ratio is like 1 to 10 or some sort of like, you'll get 1 or 2 for every like 15 that you send in a 10. Okay. So it's,
GD with the hot take. I've got broomsticks wider than Jaw's legs. I wouldn't invest in those twigs.
Yeah, I mean, Jaw, he's like super hot and fresh right now, but like I said, he might just be another glazed donut sitting there day old in a couple of years. It's hard to say. He doesn't really put up massive numbers that often. And like I said, it's really easy over time for a really hot rookie like that to just fade into obscurity or just good. I mean, look at Trae Young. It's kind of happened with Trae, It used to be Trae, Luka. And it's like Trae, Luka. And then another couple of years, it's Trae, Luka, or who knows what happens with him either. It's be careful, guys, with the new players. I mean, the scarcity is down and the demand is high now, but as soon as that demand starts to wane, that massive amount of print is going to show its ugly face.
Yeah, Luka, it's kind of sad. I was just watching the Hawks Mavs game. Actually have it on the background way over there, but the Mavericks are just not a good team. Just really, really not good. And I think they're like 11-14 or something, but I'm interested in that. It's like if the Mavs don't make the playoffs, does Luka's stuff really take a hard dip, or does it just kind of hang around?
I think it just hangs around because he puts up such massive numbers.
Yeah,
but you have to look at a guy like Jokic. It really just depends on how people feel about the player. Jokic is putting up the best career season he's had, and he's a guy that can produce all stats, right? And he's in the MVP talks, but his cards lag behind all the other popular guys. And that's one thing that I was talking about with Jeremy on Sportscards Live is that when it comes to the branding of a player, yes, their stats go into it, but also their perception publicly and just all these other things. That's why Michael Jordan will always be better than LeBron, because Michael Jordan had every facet from the branding to the stats, all of it, versus LeBron, who might not have it in every area. I mean, that's just my opinion, of course, but same thing with a Luka versus a Jokic.
Yeah. It seems like LeBron is going to win the next 2 championships. Does it not? I mean, it doesn't feel like there's really a team, like it's the Lakers and everybody else right now, I feel like.
Yeah. I think so. And honestly, Anthony Davis is not playing very well. I noticed that his stats just went at the end. I mean, they've just, I don't know what's up with AD.
Yeah, and so I wonder if that's like, with the modern basketball cards kind of taking a little bit of a dip, is it just fatigue? Because the guys just aren't really like playing that great. outside of LeBron and Luka putting up big numbers. I mean, there's guys putting up some numbers, but it's like the Lakers have a great record and then everyone else is 500. It's kind of like what it feels like.
The Jazz are unimpressive from a marketing standpoint. Donovan Mitchell's cards aren't worth a bunch. Rudy Gobert's not like flashy and excessive, but they're getting it done. They're killing it.
Hot take from Sam Moulter: Luka couldn't beat Kukoc. Hey, Kukoc he was good, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
These are the dumbest chat comments I've ever seen out live. Oh man, yeah.
What's going on out there? Are the Savages crazy tonight or something? What are we missing?
I don't know, I'm trying to find. PSA Slab guy said these are dumb chat comments, but I'm trying to. I haven't seen anything crazy dumb, but I thought that was kind of. But yeah, Rick, I think that's true. You're right in the sense that like there's a bunch of kind of excitement leading up to the season, and the season starts, and everyone's like, and then and then it kind of like comes back around playoff time. So I could see that, waiting for it to kind of swing back the other way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say who's going to be next as far as when LeBron leaves. Maybe it's Tatum, maybe it's Giannis, maybe it's Luka. I mean, if you had to pick one guy who was going to take over from LeBron, who would it be? Who's going to win the next whatever championships guy?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. It's a really good question. Because other than, I guess, maybe the Clippers, maybe Kawhi.
Kawhi sticks out, right? Yep.
That's probably the only team, that really – and it's kind of like – it's almost like the Tom Brady effect, too, in football. It's like it's just going to be Tom Brady and LeBron winning championships, and that's it. And maybe that's what it is for the next couple of years.
Which was great. I mean, I didn't bet on the Super Bowl, but I absolutely would have bet on Tom Brady for sure. Hard to bet against Brady in a Super Bowl. Curry, but he doesn't have the team. Dre's playing like a doofus, and Clay has to come back hot and fresh. So it's, Wiseman looks great. I love Wiseman, and I'd like to see Curry be that guy. Honestly, I think if Durant and Harden stay together, it might be the Durant and Harden locomotive with Kyrie chilling in that, triple seat or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, do you think the Nets are going to be a force in the East? Do you think they're going to compete and get in there, go deep in the playoffs?
I think they can win, honestly.
Yeah.
I think if anybody's going to beat the Lakers, it's definitely going to be the Nets. But I think that Kyrie Irving is less relevant than people think. He's good, but if you look at his stat production, a lot of his scoring has basically hampered James Harden's scoring. So he's good in a sense that you get Harden level scoring without a cost of James Harden's physical, health, right? Like you can get Harden scoring less and still have him produce 15 assists and 12 rebounds or whatever. He's basically becoming like a crazy Russell Westbrook type. And a lot of the scoring gets defaulted over to Kyrie. So in that sense, he's good. He's like a battery for Russell Westbrook, or not James Harden. He's like the Harden battery, Kyrie Irving. But yeah, I think the Nets could win.
And I saw people talking about Giannis and the Bucks. I guess until they actually get over the hump, I'm sure probably the thought is that the Bucks are going to lose to the Nets in the playoffs. Because KD and those guys will rise up and beat them. Until Giannis and those guys can prove that they can, get over the hump.
I mean, the Bucks have a heart, but they just don't have the raw talent that the Nets have. That's fact. They have Giannis and then a bunch of sticks that are trying to make it work. Middleton, good guy, but I mean, Brook Lopez, what has he done? There's not much there.
Maybe 7 for 10 in the big game. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a Saints fan, so that hurts. That hurt me this year with him being with the Bucks, but yeah, there's no denying it. I mean, the Bucks just played really, really solid. They hit the playoffs and everything kind of just went right. Their offensive line came together. Their defense was already good. They got Devin White back from injury, and that was it. That was all she wrote.
I agree with Flip and Steve. Jared Allen, I've said, you guys know I've got hundreds of Jared Allen rookie cards just waiting. But man,
Chris's retirement plan is Jared Allen.
Yeah, like if I'm ever pumping one card to dump part of them, it's definitely Jared Allen. I'll whisper him in your ear. I'll put him on your cards, your Valentine's Day card. Jared Allen, that's the guy. But he's got the talent. He just needs the opportunity. So yeah, that hurt.
Toxic Rice. Are we talking about Glenn Rice? Glenn Rice, another guy that was awesome. but like, what are his rookie cards relevant? Not really.
Now, what was Steve talking about earlier? I see Steve said something about doing a Deck the Halls pack break. What are you suggesting exactly, Steve? Are you selling the pack? Are you selling slots? Or what's your strategy there, my friend?
Putting Steve on the spot.
Well, he mentioned it in your chat. He said it. So
did he?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed it. Yeah, Steve, think on that. You don't have to answer now. Think on it. I saw a Breeze question. Who's taking it? Oh, nice. Are you showing that off?
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to show it off?
I'm showing this off.
I didn't know that you were going to actually go into it.
Well, just a little bit, because I'm going to make a video about this stuff. But this one in particular, I'm just too excited. I just got it today.
Wait, is that the big one, or is that 16 different ones?
16 different ones. No, you can see behind me on both sides. There's the Michael Jordan, and then over here is the Kobe Bryant I've got right there.
What year is it?
The Kobe Bryant is 96. The Jordan is 1988, the first year.
That's the first one.
And this, my friend, I got on eBay for $225, and it is a 1996. The person selling it didn't know which it was. So I did a bunch of research and found out that it was 96. But I don't know if it's the Kobe case or if it's the regular case with guys like Drexler. So it's
sealed?
I don't know. I might just bust it open right now. I don't know.
Wow. So for you guys, I know you're here for the cards, but Chris and I are zagging over to starting lineups as well.
What?
Oh, I thought you were talking to me.
No, Jenna, she's telling me not to open it.
I know. That could be like the 86 Fleer case in 20.
I know it's sneaky. But look, this is exactly what you're going to hear from people. Look right there, Sean. Buy the crappy SLUs for the graded cards.
So actually, you guys brought up a really good point. With everyone is buying those things up, ripping them apart. So there's less and less of them in box because you guys are going and getting the cards out of them. All right, I'm going to answer Mosaic Mind. I think that it might be Jameis Winston next year. That's who I think is going to take over for Breeze. I think. He hasn't announced yet, though, so who knows? Maybe he'll stay one more year. I think it's probably time to move on as much as I love the guy. But yeah, I think it's going to be Jameis Winston if it's not Breeze.
Look at she's mad. No, you better not open it now.
Yeah, honestly, like part of me kind of wants you to break the internet, open it up, and then it'll be like one of those Pokemon cases that somebody like 20 years from now, it'll be like a video with a zillion views because it's like, oh my God, you remember when that guy opened up the 96 starting lineup case?
Yeah.
Dude,
I don't think. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm still considering it. I'm just enjoying it. There might be some Kobe rookie pieces in here.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. I didn't know that you got that. That's really cool.
Yeah, I just caught it the other day, and I was like, man, how do I not get this? The gamble is this, it's a beautiful gamble because they thought it was 98. My research showed that it was definitely 96, but the case that I found had an 11 that was the extended with the Kobe's, 2 Kobe's and 2 Iversons. This one says 10. So if that is also an extended case, 10 and 11, then we're in. This is the money. And if it isn't, well, it's still going to be good, minty, fresh. Send them in, grade them, whatever.
You have to keep that, dude. You have to keep that closed because here's the thing: is people are going to pay a premium speculating on that exact fact down the road.
Yeah, if they can't find the information, then absolutely is the case. I think you guys can rip them open for the cards, but honestly, I was going to kind of keep this a secret, but people have been buying up all of the starting lineup figures quietly. They've been quietly buying them up. So you guys, if you're not in on it, that's cool. Not a big deal. Don't worry about it. But you can see I got the Jordan and the Kobe back there graded right now, and they're awesome pieces.
I picked up. I don't have many starting lineups. I've got a few, but so this was kind of cool. Like I bought one on eBay, and then the guy was like, he sent me a message, and he's like, "Hey, I live like 10 minutes away from you. You mind if I just drop it by your front door?" I'm like, "All right, well, just send me a message so that I know it's there." But it's a 91 Barry Sanders.
Yeah,
that's graded. And it's graded. You don't see many graded ones. There's not a lot of them, frankly. And it's not like a super high grade. I think it's an 80 or an 85 or whatever, but
that's fine. Honestly, if you look, the 80 is my benchmark. I'm trying it in the action figures that I do pick up. I just try to keep it 80 or above, because here's the thing. If it's a vintage figure, you're not going to get a 90 or a 95. Those are going to be just super crazy and out of reach. You're going to get an 80 or an 85. So I've tried to get 85s when I could, and then 80s otherwise. But the thing is that the scarcity is nuts, because graded action figures are difficult to do. If you want to talk about something that's hard to get in good condition, you have the bubble, you have the yellowing, you have the creasing, you have the condition of the card, and not just like a small card that you can put in a top loader, but like an action figure's back of a card. Graded stuff is extremely difficult to get in good shape.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's interesting. It's interesting. Now, is that something? Are you focused on it? Is it just kind of a thing like, I'm going to like see, like, are you going to zero in on that a little bit more, or are you just kind of playing around with it?
It's just a bet like anything else, you bet on a guy. I bet on Sabonis. I've told everybody that Marvel cards were going to be good on December 28th in a video before Gary V came out. Now you can't even touch Marvel Universe wax. I had 2 mint sets with a bunch that are going, holograms, all that good stuff. So it really just, you research, you find something that other people aren't paying attention to that deserves attention, and then you move in on some of it. And for me, basically just the first year starting lineup basketball, it's not that crazy of a print run from what I can find information-wise. And you think about how many are just in shitty condition, how many have been ripped open, how many people have taken the cards out of, and suddenly, you've got a pretty scarce piece. And I'm not saying that it's 86 Fleer basketball cards. It's not that, but right. It definitely has a very cool element to it. And the first year, because you got to think about it from nostalgia perspective. Everybody say, "Oh, starting lineup, that's trash." The same thing they said about all the junk wax, and now we're seeing, Jordan 89 Fleer PSA 10 $4,000 type stuff. So I mean, it's junk until it isn't, and the print runs aren't that crazy. So I do believe that it could absolutely be very good. I have both of the early starting lineup Jordans on the 88 and 89. Have they went up yet? Well, that's the thing. When you start looking at them, you see that the Kobe back there that I got, right? That is a 85 grade, and people are paying almost $200 for a raw, ungraded Kobe. I picked that one up for $480 in an 85 near mint. And the scarcity on that is like less than 200 graded total.
Honestly, I almost pulled the trigger on one of those today for exactly what you just said, for almost $200, and I just didn't. And I'm wondering if I'm going to regret that, because it was like the auction ran out. I don't know if someone bid on it or not, but yeah, it was like a nice looking raw copy of that 96 Kobe.
Yep.
So I don't know. Yeah, I mean it's interesting stuff, but it's kind of like with anything else. If you're looking at GOATs, if you're looking at Jordan, LeBron,
right,
Kobe's, what else? It's kind of like what Chris was saying. Like, what else is collectible? What else is collectible that you've, and starting lineups are something that are like a lot of people that are our age collected in our youth.
It was massive. Starting lineup, the history, it was as big as Masters of the Universe and everything else. So when you're looking at vintage sports collectibles, this is one that really hits people in the nostalgic heart. And just because it was junk, it isn't if a bunch of people pay attention to it. You're already seeing people pay $150 for the Jordan, sometimes more. And then for the Kobe, they're already paying $200 raw. I mean, that is something to pay attention to. And it's not just like it happened once. If you look at sold listings on eBay, you see 3 or 4 Kobe's are selling like every day for up to $200. I won an auction for one yesterday in like dead mint condition that I'm certainly sending in. And I only got it for $126 because the guy spelled it wrong. He spelled it Koby. He gave me the Kobe White, Kobe Bryant combo. So I won that one.
That's awesome.
No, I'm sharing with the people. It's okay. It's not a secret. Starting lineup figures are cool. I've got plenty of them that we bought. I got a Dan Marino first year starting lineup in an 85.
Because you told them about the misspelling of Kobe. Now they're going to look for your tricks.
Oh, everybody knows that trick. Everybody knows to look for stuff that's misspelled on eBay. Come on, man. We've been doing that for years.
I think that that's what you're talking about is really critical with third party grading. Sports cards didn't really blow up until third party grading became a thing. I mean, I know we had junk wax era that was where it blew up, but it wasn't legitimized until you had third party grading. So and the grading companies, AFA and I believe it's CAS is the other one. There's two companies. The AFA though they have good reputations. You know,
AFA is the PSA, basically.
Yeah. I mean, they have good reps, so it's just a matter of does it catch on or does it not catch on. But it could be something if you're looking for something that's outside of expensive sports cards to look at. This is another one of those options. So it was.
Well, here's the other thing, like we were talking about earlier with the big four. You know, the comic books have seen a resurgence. You want first appearances, you want 9.8s. They're infinite money, right? And then you obviously, you know, the cards obviously are just insane off the charts. You get over to action figures and that is an area that fractionals haven't even hit. They've hit video games, they've hit art, they've hit comics, they've hit cards. I haven't seen a single action figure graded in a fractional investment company. How long before we see the first ones? And what are they going to target? The highest graded of the best stars. So they're going to go for Michael Jordan, one that you and I were talking about. I don't know if you've gotten all of them and you want to kind of let the cat out of the bag a little, but.
Which one? The Ninja Turtles?
No, not the Ninja Turtles. What we were talking about yesterday. You suggested, and I went and bought like 20 of them.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm wide open. Yeah. No, so what Chris is talking about is 2003 McFarlane Toys has LeBron. It's the first LeBron. It's not
action figure.
Yeah, it's an action figure. It's not a starting lineup because they stopped making them, I think, at that point, right?
In 2001, they stopped with starting lineup, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, the 2003 McFarlane toys are not anywhere near as scarce as some of those other ones, but again, it's like first appearance of LeBron, you know, and LeBron's the biggest thing since sliced bread. I don't know.
Rookie action figures are a thing. So if you follow and people are paying a good money for the Michael Jordan first year starting lineup, right? I have that one right there graded in an 85. I paid $700 for it. That's probably going to be worth triple in less than a year. And if people go and say, oh, wow, people are buying these starting lineups, this is awesome, then what else are they going to go through? They say Michael Jordan. Who else do they say? Tom Brady. His is already expensive. If you try to get a Tom Brady McFarlane 2002 rookie action figure, they're going for $200 or more. There's one graded one on the market for $1,200 right now. I was thinking about buying that. But you look at who's next, they're going to go to LeBron. And LeBron 2003, and it even says debut action figure. It's LeBron's first action figure, and action figures are relevant. They just haven't been given their due. Even if you look at the vintage stuff, you look at Star Wars figures, and you look at the max value versus other markets like cards, comics, and everything else, action figures just haven't had their day in the sun yet. That's the last macro collectible that hasn't exploded. Even now, you can get a Darth Vader in a good grade for like $3,000, which I think is just an absolute steal when you look at the other collectibles, because action figures are one of the hardest things to get in good condition because of all the elements.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And that all started really in the 80s. The 80s really kind of blew up and that's people all our age. It's like we talked about, you know, a lot of my channel, I know your channel too. It's a lot of 35 to 50-year-olds, and that's kind of that's the age group for all that stuff. So yeah,
the LeBron Hummer too. Yep, but that's 2004, I think, right? It's like 2004 Fleer or something. But yes, action figures have the scarcity factor. Like Mosaic Mind, think about it like this. Let's say they make 100,000 action figures, right? And then 50,000 of them get opened by kids. And then another 25,000 of them get yellowed over time, or the plastic gets cracked, or it's dinged up. It's not in good shape. Now you've got way less in good condition. Then you look at the scarcity from the variants. People have so for the LeBron we were talking about, it comes with a base white jersey, but there's a red variant. And I was doing the research, Dustin and I were talking about it on eBay right now. There's about 140 of these total, with about 25 or so of them being the red colored jersey. So that one is way harder to get. So with all of the sports people out there, how many people does it take to arrive at that as valuable or meaningful, because it's a LeBron rookie item, and then move in on it? How many, if everybody out here in the chat bought 2, suddenly there would be 10 left on eBay, and they're under $30. I'm just saying, those could easily be $200 action figures, just like the Tom Brady. They just haven't gotten there yet. But if they start focusing on that Jordan, looking at starting lineup, and another thing, starting lineup before pandemic took everybody out, that was starting to become a giveaway at stadiums. So there's actually 2017 starting lineups that were given away because the brand was so popular. They brought it back. It's there. It's waiting. It's like Jason Voorhees looking for that next movie.
And he'll get it too. He always does.
He always does.
Will, can I get it on action figure of a Triceratops? I'm assuming you're talking about the Rally Road Triceratops skull. And actually, you know what I thought of when you said that? First Jurassic Park stuff. That stuff is so expensive. If you go back and look at some of the first Jurassic Park, that first series of action figures that came out, that stuff is not cheap, especially if it's still in the box and stuff. I mean, it's nuts. So yes, maybe I will get a Triceratops. Yeah,
nothing wrong with it.
I didn't buy the skull fractional share yet. I don't know if it's sold out or not, but I did not get in on that, unfortunately. I'm waiting for a T-Rex or something a little bit more carnivorous, maybe a raptor claw.
It's interesting either way. I mean, who knows? Like I said, I expect guitars. I expect all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Mosaic Mind, too. That's a good point. So where it gets a little bit, where it's different from cards as it sits right now is I don't believe there's a population report for graded action figures.
There is. Absolutely.
Oh, is there?
Yeah. If you go to toygrader.com, you have to have an account. You sign in, and there's a population report, and it'll tell you. So when I was doing research about the Darth Vader that I just bought, no secret, for $3K, and it's at 80. So it's near mint, and it's original. It's because for the Star Wars ones, they have 12 back, which is the original, and they have an A, B, and C wave. And I've got the 12 back A Darth Vader, which is the first Vader ever made. And the reason why I bought this particular one is because looking at it from a card grading perspective, the card itself is centered. And I don't think that the AFA people make a distinction, because sometimes you'll see the card just slightly off center to the side or whatever. So the card is unpunched and it's centered. And the only problem with it is there's a little dent in on the bubble, but it's not yellowing at all. So to me, it's just a fantastic piece. But I
would just assume that there was. I mean, I think the answer is no. We don't have the production totals. I would assume that look when I'm if we're talking about 1988 starting lineups and 1988 Ninja Turtle figures, I know that they produced a heck of a lot of those. I know
Definitely.
that they did. Now if we're going back to 77 Kenner Star Wars stuff, I don't know about that. I know they made a lot of Star Wars stuff moving forward after that first movie, but what Chris is talking about is the original stuff that came out in 77, 78 maybe. And that stuff, if you finding that in still in the box, in good condition, graded, it just doesn't exist. It's not out there, So that's a fractional share type buy. I'm assuming, Chris.
Exactly.
You're jumping in on that.
But that's what I'm saying. When you look at how scarce that is, there's only 700 of those Darth Vaders graded, right? And out of the 700. The 300 of them are in the range of 80, which is the one that I've got. There's only 150 higher. And if you look at a 95, there's 6 of them. That's the one I would expect the fractional company to go after. 6. Mm-hmm. I mean, and even getting the 80 for 3K, I think is insane. It's so scarce. It's so difficult. And that's one of the things we were talking about is, Star Wars is a continual brand. Disney has it. It's coming out all the time. It's constantly refreshing in the minds of the kids and the families and everything else.
And the reason why that's important is because historically, when you're looking at collectibles, investing in collectibles, buying and selling them, the knock on collectibles is that it's always, it's generational. The next generation's not going to care what I'm not going to collect what my dad collected and his dad collected. And historically that has been true. But the thing that's different is now we have multi-generational brands. They're not making new characters. They're just remaking movies. They're just remaking stuff from old characters. You know, 30 years from now, there will still be Ninja Turtle stuff. There will still be Star Wars stuff. Disney owns Star Wars. That's not going away anytime soon.
No,
it's forever. They will
AFA
forever.
AFA, Steve, is the top. In fact, it's the only one that I would go with. I found some more Jordans for like AGA or some weird shit. But if you want it's Action Figure Authority. It's toygrader.com. It brings you to the same site. And they have other grading that they do as well. In fact, let me give you their spiel of what is good and what you wouldn't necessarily use. So they do video games, die casts, they do collectible dolls, and they do action figures. And for action figures, they are PSA. They're the top. And the price is a little expensive, but the turnaround is a lot faster also than 8 months or 7 years for a PSA card or something. So that's a benefit too.
What does that look like, Chris? Because I've never been down that road before. Do you know what turnaround time is and the prices and all that?
Couple of months. And okay, so my first experience with AFA was when I bought a bunch of wrestling action figures in the Raw, because the WWF Hasbro figures are very, very popular. And that's why you see the new ones now with the retro look or whatever. It harkens back to those from the 90s. So if you have like Series 1, Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Macho Man, those are all worth hundreds of dollars, 500, 600, whatever. It's massive. And I was going to submit a couple of those. I had a really nice Shawn Michaels, a really nice Ric Flair, got almost $200 a piece for them, but I was going to send them off for grading. The reason why I didn't is because the cost at the time was about $100 to get one graded, and then about a 2 month or so wait. And I'm sure that the price has come down some now. That was a while ago, but yeah, I would say that the price is probably relatively high, but that's also why I think that action figures graded are undervalued. I think that right now it's a buyer's market. You see a lot of the people up there with make an offer, and they'll take an offer, but you don't see population. So the only thing missing is other people saying, wait a minute, these are cool, these are scarce. Why didn't I get in on this? You know?
Yeah.
That's all it takes. So that's why I'm betting on action figures going forward.
Kevin, you bring up Masters of the Universe relaunched, and yeah, Kevin Smith is redoing it.
Yep.
But if you look at Masters of the Universe is one where we missed that. That is a great example. The Star Wars stuff, the rare Star Wars stuff, all gets scooped up. And there's a huge collector base for it too. So it's not even just like it's speculators and investors. There's just big time collectors that want that stuff. But it is very, very difficult to find original 80s Masters of the Universe stuff in the box and then find it graded.
It's expensive too. Yeah.
Rare. It's extremely rare.
And they're really yellow. They do yellow quite easily, those Masters of the Universe. I've had a few of the Faker. That's my favorite Masters of the Universe guy. So that's always the one I've bought and sold over the years. But yeah, they yellow pretty easily, but the population on them is extremely low. Transformers too, same thing. Yeah, you want Megatron, you want Optimus Prime. But here's the thing. When you look at the pristine copies of those and you compare it to of course, Optimus Prime isn't Michael Jordan. I don't expect it to get to that level, but I do expect that it could go up to half of that, you know? And that's why I think starting lineup was a great spot to start, because you look at the progression of what we're seeing. You got 86 Fleer, all this type of shit, that Masters of the Universe. We're getting up to 88 to 90. You know, we're getting there. And starting lineup was a massive part of that back then.
Yeah. Alex, I have not bought any fractional shares. I think Chris had bought into Otis. He said he bought into the PSA 10 set. He bought in on some of that. I'm just kind of watching the fractional share stuff now. Not that I don't think it's a great idea or all that. I just want to see some results and just holding out a little bit before I jump into fractional share. But I like the idea, and I hope that it's executed well.
Yeah, I think that we're going to see that evolve over time. Same thing with the digital stuff like Top Shot and NFTs in general. I think that those have their place, and I think they are going to have a big place going forward. So I'm not the type of person who just shuts something out because I don't like it, or I want to know more about it. I want to know who does like it. What does it do? What is its function? Why will this be better? Why will this take a percentage of my collecting, whatever. I want to know more about it. And so if you keep an open mind and you embrace the changes that are happening, then you can stay ahead of the market.
Now, Mosaic Mind, are you saying that because is it because people are trying to chase the raw stuff because it might be a 10? Is that what you mean? Where, a raw card, someone's kind of gambling on the, on that raw card being a 10. And so that's why it would be more valuable than the slabbed one. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of there with that.
The only thing I could think of in that sense would be that there's such a high print run that the 9s hold less value than the gamble of a 10 on a pristine raw one. But then we're looking at just a very specific case. I think that the hard 10 is always going to be the best one as long as people care about graded cards.
Thoughts on Funko Pops? I'm not crazy about them, I'll be honest.
Again, when you look at Funko Pops, it's the same thing. I have a couple back there simply because I just got a couple over time. I have a Ming the Merciless, and I have a Clockwork Orange, Alex the Large, a couple Batman I picked up for whatever. But you look at scarcity and demand, and Funko Pops are definitely overprinted. Now you start talking about they make 50 of an autographed Funko Pop, or there's some really rare ones like a Biggie or an exclusive that maybe they only make 500 of total. And now you've got a collectible for people who care about Funko Pops or who care about that branded individual. So if they only made 50 of a Michael Jordan Funko Pop, you could be damn sure that that would be worth a ton of money because people care about Michael Jordan and they would care that there's only 50 of them. They would be more willing to accept that it's a Funko Pop.
Yeah, that's Sean. This is kind of it's a huge question I have with the Marvel cards because they printed a ton of that 1990 set. And pop reports are really low right now. We've talked about this on a couple of videos. I love that 1990s. I bought a set. I bought a raw set about a week ago just because I saw it I saw people getting wild about it. And I was like, I better buy a set before I can't get a set. But it's not to grade or any of that. It's literally just to have so I can look through it. My buddies and I used to trade those all day. I mean, that was a big set. And that's what's driving it. It's a lot of the nostalgia. I'm surprised that it hadn't really caught on before now, to be honest. But yeah, I'm really curious to see like how many cards went to PSA. How long does it take to get them back? What's that breakdown look like? How many 10s and all that? 9s, 10s, 5s? I want to see.
So I thought that it was going to blow up because I was looking towards the comic book movies that were coming out, like Venom and Carnage. That's going to be a massive movie. So I was thinking, where's Venom's first card? And Amazing Spider-Man 300 is already worth a bunch. Let me see what his first card is because cards are trending. I found, and hey, it's in this 1990 Marvel set. That's his first card. The set is awesome. This set is probably going to be worth more money. There's a low pop at PSA. Let me buy a couple of these sets. Let me get in there. And lo and behold, like a week and a half later, Gary V's posting about Marvel cards and garbage pail kids, and now the whole market's blown up. It's crazy.
Yeah, Jeff, I haven't. Okay, so I had Thundercats. Again, if you go back to original Thundercat stuff, if you've got one of those in the box, I'm sure it's very, very expensive. And then if you have it graded, then that's another level. It's kind of like with cards, get it graded, then it's even more valuable if it's a high grade. I have to assume too that Power Rangers will, also there's got to be collectors. There's got to be a pretty deep collector base for Power Rangers too. So I haven't looked into Power Rangers. That was a little after me. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure that, and look, we're speculating on the action figure stuff is kind of a cool little zag that we've dug into. It's not like, we're not saying that, we can see the future and the stuff's going to go bananas, but it is kind of fun to follow it.
Yeah, I mean, people are paying $200 for Kobe, and they're getting up to $200 for the first Jordan. And like what somebody was saying out there before, the way they distributed starting lineup is that they had regional and national distribution. So they put the regional distribution for a team like the Jazz, which is why the Karl Malone and John Stockton is short printed. So actually, Karl Malone's starting lineup from 1988 is worth like $2,500 or more. Yeah, so there's people paying big money for starting lineup out there for sure. But I'm gonna have to wrap it up here in about 5 minutes, my friend.
Yeah,
5 minutes.
We're on we're an hour and 18 minutes in, so we're gonna go ahead and jump off unless you've got anything else for Chris. I don't even think I said, but if you have not been on Chris's channel yet, VegasFinds777 is hilarious. Go watch some of his stuff. You've been kind of slacking on your videos lately, though.
I have, but you can see we're working on it. This whole design back here is to start making more videos again. Like I said, Top Shot has taken up a ton of my time. I'm coming back. I'm back to the future.
Man.
And
I miss them. I miss them.
Yeah, no, they're coming back, man. I just had to get things straightened out here. Like if I turned the camera this way, you would just see a massive bomb explosion. So this is just kind of the beginning. So I just want to kind of design this up and then, go forward and have regular videos again that aren't just a bunch of breaks all the time. The breaks are fun. We're going to be doing Top Shot breaks tonight around 8 p.m. on the channel. So if you want to pop over there, we've got 100 common packs. And we're going to, I don't know, I got to randomize it and figure out how to distribute that. But we're going to be doing breaks tonight. So yeah, videos will be back. I've heard a lot of the people wanting videos, and I want them too.
Let's do it. All right. Guys, thanks very much for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. And Chris, we'll have you back on probably another month or so like usual.
Awesome. Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. Talk to you later. Have a good night.